never giving up. No, I'm never giving up. Never gonna give it up. No, I'm never gonna stop. Well, I've never been the kind to walk away from a good fight. You know I got it all up in my DNA. You're damn right. You can try to slow me down, but I don't stop.
things get difficult, you gotta reach inside yourself. You're not alone.
Now maybe what you feeling is hard, or maybe what you feeling is dark, or maybe what you feeling is a feeling you ain't never felt and you don't even know where to start. But if you go in thinking that you can't do it, then guess what? You can't do it. I'm an example right here and I'll prove it. You will never get ahead without movement. Truth is, everything you do won't be the best. Failure can push you into success. Don't sit around in a mood and feel unrest. Do what you do, here are the steps. First you gotta see it, next you gotta believe it, then you go achieve it, repeat it and then complete it. Class is in session for the teaching. Pay attention, this is what you see. Now when it feels like one thing after the other is going wrong, then you have to recover. You gotta dig deep. You gotta dig deep.
Push through the impossible.
And when you're feeling down on your luck and feel stuck, make sure that you don't give up. Get up, dig deep. You gotta dig deep.
Push through the impossible.
Have you ever wanted to quit? Have you ever felt you wasn't legit? Have you ever felt not on pace, maybe out of place, or maybe like you wasn't a fit? Feeling like that is in the norm. When you feel like you trapped up in a storm, but there's no looking back, keep it going. Now you got a new life, you were born. Battles get in the way, so channel your inner strength. Grind until the end, you're stronger than what you think. Do not panic if you happen to sink. Instead remember this, cause you are the missing link. First you gotta see it, next you gotta believe it, then you go achieve it, repeat it and then complete it. Class is in session for the teaching. Pay attention, this is what you see. Now when it feels like one thing after the other is going wrong, then you have to recover. You gotta dig deep. You gotta dig deep.
Push through the impossible.
And when you're feeling down on your luck and feel stuck, make sure that you don't give up. Get up, dig deep. You gotta dig deep.
Push through the impossible.
ice. Ain't my fault they all be jacking. Keep up. Players only. Come on, put your pinky rings up to the moon. Girls, what y'all trying to do? 24 karat magic in the air. Head to toe so clear. Look out. Second verse for the hustlers, gangsters, bad bitches and your ugly ass friends. I cannot preach, I cannot preach. I gotta show them how a pimp get it in. First, take your sip, do your dip, spend your money like.
Good evening. It's a major American city dealing with an epidemic of violence. The shooting of a man in broad daylight on the streets of Chicago, apparently captured on his own camera phone, have brought into growing focus a surge of shooting.
Providing us with the statistics that show violent crime in the city.
Please pray for our families.
The people in this room are going to change America.
We got love, love, love. You better believe it. We got love, love, love. You better believe it.
I got house in the carriage, yeah. I got black love and marriage, yeah. They gon' say you can't have it, but I'm like, don't kill the messenger. We gon' break the stigma up. Huxtables turn to Obamas. It ain't about where you been, where you from, what you got. It's all about love. Self-love is the best love. When you gon' take that risk, man. That petty party bent over. Don't need makeup to dress you up. I gave birth on the bathroom floor. Just me, Iman, and headphone calls. Don't like this flag to feat you. I hope this message reach you. Throw your hands up. Play catch with the hundreds. Love is the new money. I'm just chillin' with the homies. Homies where the heart is. Throw your hands up. Play catch with the hundreds. Love is the new money. I'm just chillin' with the homies. Homies where the heart is.
Love, love, love. You better believe it. We got love, love, love. You better believe it.
I live in abundance. Love is the new money. I'm mentally wealthy, spiritually conscious. I'm fresh out of honest. I'm ballin' and ballin'. I play with the hundreds. Love is the new money. That's my frequency. Spark up, burn the sage. Clear the room, kill the hate. Love is the new wave. Play catch with the hundreds. Love is the new money. I'm just chillin' with the homies. Homies where the heart is. Ah! Play catch with the hundreds. Love is the new money. I'm just chillin' with the homies. Homies where the heart is.
Love, love, love. You better believe it. We got love, love, love. You better believe it. We got love, love, love. You better believe it. We got love, love, love. You better believe it.
Hello, hello. We have a lot to talk about. It is so wonderful to be here. You know, when we started making this video, and I talk about this all the time, but it was a conversation that happened between me and a couple of people, and I said, what happened to black TV? When I was growing up, this was the vibe. What you just saw, that was the vibe, right? It was all about family togetherness. When I was growing up, was watching Nick at Night. There were the Jeffersons. There were the Huxtables. There were the Winslows. It was all about having issues, but every night they were having dinner together, and the goals were different, right? They were doctors. They were lawyers. They had good jobs. It was uplifting. And at the end of the day, it was about family. Family being the key word. What has happened to our concept of family? Everything that you see when you turn on the television today that is programmed for minorities isn't positive. It isn't uplifting. It isn't about the family. In fact, it celebrates the breakdown of family. We have love and hip hop now, right? Don't get me wrong, I love Cardi B, right? But strippers, people that are looking for people to date, that's really what we see on TV today. There is no positive television. And what's actually been the result? That's what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to talk later, and I'm going to give you a longer speech, but that is what I want you to focus on, is what has been the result of these images that are being perpetuated on the screen. What is happening to the Black youth? What is happening to the Hispanic youth? What are their goals today? When I was young, what I wanted to be was a lawyer, right? What do these kids want to be when they grow up? Is hip-hop helping? Is it hurting? These are the questions we have to ask ourselves. I think what's happened to the minority community in general has been a dream that got deferred. A dream that has been deferred in our community thanks in large part to the media which has played a very sour role in hurting the relationships between all races, between white people, between Black people, and between Hispanic people. And as a result, it has led to, in our communities, a wilderness. You guys, please enjoy the show, and please enjoy the speakers.
The Great Society rests on abundance and liberty for all.
What happens to a dream deferred? Does it dry up like a raisin in the sun, or fester like a sore and then run? Does it stink like rotten meat, or crust and sugar over it like a syrupy sweet? Maybe it just sags like a heavy load. Or does it explode?
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Baltimore mayoral candidate, Pastor Shannon Wright.
Hello, Baltimore! How is everybody today? This is quite an experience to be here in this place, in this room. Running for office in this city with the numbers, and I'll just go through this really quickly. Sometimes, to be able to get the votes you need, you have to go to your base, you have to go to the middle, and you have to try to reach to the left. Let that marinate for a minute. I'm gonna ask all y'all to keep me in prayer for the next 14 months. So we made that attempt, knowing that God is our armor. We accepted an invitation from MSNBC. That was definitely not the definition of fun. So one of the things that you learn really quickly in doing this is you have to try and stick to your core values and translate it into a language that the left can kind of hear a little bit on the issues and not lose yourself in the process. And I'm finding that despite all of the training and all of the Politics 101, the best class I should have taken and didn't was circus entertaining and how to walk a tightrope. When you decide to run for office, they forget to tell you, you need to have really good balance to stay on that line. So that prayer thing, that's real. 14 months, y'all. Y'all keep us up in prayer in this city. So how many of you listen to hip hop? Don't be ashamed. I want to see more hands. I know you do. All right. How many of you have heard of Eminem? Okay. One of his songs, he says, you only get one shot. Do not miss your chance to blow, because opportunity comes once in a lifetime. This is that opportunity for this city right now. We have to send a clear message to the current leadership of this city that our state of public education is not okay. We have to send a message that crime, and specifically the homicide rate in this city, is not okay. Our crumbling infrastructure, resulting in constant and consistent water main breaks, causing road closures, cave-ins, and leaving communities without water, is not okay. Now, let me clarify that. If we didn't pay taxes to pay the bill to fix those things, it would be okay. Because if you don't pay for it, you don't have a right to have an expectation. But when you pay taxes to fix these things, and when you drive from one side to the other, you get to count how many times you lose a hubcap, blow out a tire, or bend your axle if it's a really big pothole. That's not okay. In this city, decades of failed leadership has allowed this city to fall far from grace. For a long time now, parts of Charm City are not very charming. We need new leadership, not new faces with the same old ideas. We need new leadership with new ideas that are tried and true, and we know work. Now, they say politicians and pastors, we have a hard time staying on topic sometimes and to time, so I'm gonna do my best. So follow me on this for a minute. In 2016, I ran for office in this city. Now, to go back a little beyond that, my husband and I, who's in here somewhere, oh, he's the cute guy over there with the camera. Hi, honey. We were living in New Jersey. So, as many of you will hear, they like to use that word carpetbagger to describe me, and it's okay. I'm good. I know who I am and where I'm from and why I'm here. So, I don't know about you, but I have found in my years, God has an interesting sense of humor. I don't know if any of you have found that out. But in 2012, we were happily living in New Jersey. And God had put it in our spirit that he needed us to be nomadic for a period of time and to go where he called us to be. And you know, sometimes when you think you're grown, you feel like you can negotiate these things. So I said, okay, God, can we just have a few more years here? We just got all the kids out. It's quiet. Can we stay just a little while longer? And God sent a hurricane. And we lost power for a few days, and it was all good, and we're like, ooh, shook it off. After the hurricane was the earthquake that was centered down in Virginia, and it actually shook and cracked the foundation of our home. But you know, being stubborn, knowing better than God, I said, it's okay, we can fix this. And God said, you're not hearing me. So he sent Hurricane Sandy. And we didn't live near the shore, so again, we thought we'd be fine. Well, God had a different plan. By the time that hurricane was done with us, we had been without utilities for 3.5 weeks. No water, no heat, no nothing. 3.5 weeks. And I don't know if you all remembered from being down here, but after the hurricane, we had a snowstorm. Again, no heat, no water, a little less roof than we had before, but that's a minor thing. Everything we had in our 6-bedroom, 5-bathroom home, where we raised our 4 children and took care of my mother and my grandmother, fit in 3 pods. That's it. mementos, pictures, all that, gone. God said, well, I've been telling you need to go, and you're not listening, so I guess you hear me now. It'll be easy to pack, won't it? My sister, who is one of my best friends, lives here in Baltimore. And she said, well, why don't you just come stay with us for a little while and regroup? And I said, okay, but I'm not moving. I'm just going to be there for a little while because I'm going back home. And God said, shh, it's all right. You say what you want to say. It's all good. 2 years later, still in Baltimore, we decided, well, since we're still here, trying to figure out what we wanted to do, we started a new business. In case y'all hadn't noticed, I'm black, which means I probably like to cook, which I do, and I'm pretty doggone good at it. So we started a culinary business, specifically baking. And we were the first minority gourmet baking entity that had a regional contract with 7-Eleven. And then in 2015, Freddie Gray happened. And for the first time, 7-Eleven's closed. And being a gourmet entity, that one of our claim to fame was no preservatives, we lost our entire inventory. So I said, okay, God, I give up. I'm just sit here and wait for you to tell me what you want me to do, because clearly this isn't it. One Sunday, I was outside, I was in my garden, and my phone rang. And it was a very dear friend who's since passed by the name of Corrigan Vaughn. And he said, listen, I know you've seen all that's going on down here, so I want you to consider doing me a favor. I said, okay, sure. He said, I want you to run for office. I said, what? He said, no, really, I want you to run for office. And I said, okay. So I lost pretty much everything I owned. I came down here to regroup, started a business, lost that, and now you want me to do this? And he said, well, clearly you have nothing else better to do at the moment. God kind of cleared the path. So I told him I'd think about it. And for those of you that knew Corrigan, he was a very persistent person. So he said, I'm going to call you back in a week. And he did. And he called me back. And he said, you know what? Hold on a second. Now, silly me, I'm thinking he's getting another call. But instead, he was making a call to the chairman here in the city. So when he came back on, he came on with the chairman. And I said, okay. Next thing I know, we're going to lunch. There's papers in front of me. I'm filling out. They say I'm now on the ballot. So here you are. You're welcome. 2016 was an interesting cycle. Many of the folks here in the city will tell you that the spiral and the decline started when the city didn't fully recover from the riots in the 60s. 2015 didn't break the city. It just continued and kind of sped up that process that it's been in. So my grandmother always said, if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. So we said, okay, if we're going to do this, we're going to do this in a big way. So in 2016, we were on the ballot in 4 areas. RNC delegate for President Trump, ran for vice chair of the state party, and for city council president. I won all but the general of the city council election. I share that story with you, not so much because of me, but because of what determination can do. If each one of you in this room put it in your mind that you will be a part of that great and necessary change for this city, it will happen. And the important thing is, and I'm real clear on this, it won't happen because of what I do. It'll happen because of what he does and what you all stand in one accord with him. So, when we look at Baltimore today, folks, there are a lot of issues. And I don't have enough time left to list them all. But I can tell you this, a phrase my grandmother used to say, what you do in the dark comes out in the light. And our president, God love him, has shine a light bright enough that you need sunglasses on the inside. Now, there are those here that tend to be, you know, a little emo, and perhaps our president could have used some softer, kinder words. However, truth is truth. And all of what he said regarding this city is true. So, in the course of the comments that the president has made and the response from Congressman Cummings and all of that, there was a press conference here in the city with, shall I say it, one of your favorite people, Al Sharpton? Huh? Any fans? Any fans? Huh? No? Okay. But he did a press conference here. And I actually went to that press conference. Now, you can't tell that because I had the good sense to stand really far off to the side. But if you're going to be in a fight, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. You cannot fight the other side if you don't know where they are. So, for those of you that only know me from what you see on Facebook or here, let me be very clear. Number one, I'm Christian first. I am black, and I am on this side of the spectrum. Now, another key factor, my husband and I homeschooled our kids, and we made sure they each spoke multiple languages. We homeschooled all four through high school. And I gotta tell you, when you spend all day and night with your kids and you live with them, boy, does it strengthen your faith. But one of the things that we were really determined was they needed to speak more than one language, at least two and preferably three. It makes no sense to go to Spain and speak French. Don't work. So, for those of you that know me, despite what you see, understand, I cannot be on this side talking to them, speaking in this language. I have to hold on to my values and my ideals and translate them into a language that will resonate over there. But I am still way over there. This election cycle for the next 14 months is going to be the opportunity that comes once in a lifetime to turn this city around. Now, for those of you that live in Baltimore, boy, oh boy, I need to have all of you understand that regardless to where you are, you have a voice. You have people that are connected to you, and you never know what happens today and how it will resonate with the person sitting next to you, standing next to you, or that you pass on the street. So in my line of work as a pastor, we call that evangelizing. Now, all of you need to be a voice for this city. Now, I'll tell you why. Because there may only be one Baltimore here in Maryland, but But the problems we have in this city are in all of our cities, all of our Baltimores, all over this country. And if we can work together to make that difference here, we can inspire hope, faith, and courage to make those changes in all of our cities across this country. I don't just want to win my election here. I want to inspire someone to put their name on the ballot on the south side of Chicago, in South LA, down in Atlanta. Where there is a need, we have to be the answer to fill that void that generations of failed leadership has caused. I have a time limit, and I forgot to look at my watch when I started, so I'm hoping someone will tell me when to stop. One of the things that this cycle has done for me is it's given me a platform to really be able to speak truth to power with regards to the issues here in the city and do something that in my line of work we have to remind ourselves not to do, and that I need to remind all of you not to do, and that's called preaching to the choir. This room is the choir. This is rehearsal. Service is out there. Just as those of us in ministry that try to hold others that claim ministry's feet to the fire, and we let them know, church isn't what you do 2 hours on Sunday. What counts is what you do the other 6.5 days of the week outside of that building. And I must say, it does not escape me, and I'm sure it doesn't escape anyone in this room, that if we had preachers that preached according to the book that they claimed to study, and teachers that taught according to a curriculum that made sense, and dare I say it, parents that understood how to parent, we would not be here today. It is my goal to move forward each and every day of the next 14 months as if this was a beauty pageant and I was the reigning queen, and I'll tell you why. When you enter a pageant, you have a year, and your year, you're supposed to be talking about your platform. You're supposed to be out there stumping for whatever your issue is. Now, as I said, there's a long list of issues here in the city. But the key central issue is change that makes sense for this city and all of our cities. So this next 14 months, I'm not going to be just talking about what I plan to do. I'm going to be doing now, as I have been. Because one of the things that's been missing is leading by example. I can tell you anything I want. I could tell you that you sitting right here, by the time you hit that door, you're going to have wings and a tail and be able to fly home. But that doesn't make it so. What does is work and dedication and focus. And that's what I intend to be about. My poor husband, who doesn't get a home-cooked meal very often these days, that's what he's going to be about. And that's what all of you need to be about. Because together, not one person can change the city. Because the reality is, if I win, all of city council is still over there. Okay, I like that. Thank you. Thank you for the correction. All of city council is still over there. All of the leadership, current leadership that represents the city and the state is still over there. So one person winning is not the answer. It's all of us staying in the fight regardless of the election cycle to hold whoever is elected accountable and hold their feet to the fire and make sure they understand we are not asleep. We can no longer allow ourselves to be sheep led to slaughter. There have been a whole bunch of challenges so far in this cycle, and I suspect that there will be a whole bunch more. But you know what? My mother-in-law says, in a very Jamaican accent, so I'm going to translate that a little bit, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So I'm pretty doggone strong right now. And so are all of you, because you're here. Despite what the mainstream media says, you're here. Despite what may be comfortable at your job or at your school, you are here, and you are here. And despite being in seats right now, you all stand for something. Over the last year, I had the opportunity to be a part of Dr. Carson's Thought Leaders Roundtable. And we talked about ideas and ways and things that were already in place, being able to use them and maximize them to be able to actually make a positive change in the cities. There are lots of parts and pieces that Dr. Carson has made sure are in place. And we're going to work to bring that to light. This past week, many folks didn't think our president would actually come to Baltimore, but he did. My team has been staying in prayer, and because of that, not us, President Trump spoke at that retreat Thursday. Friday morning, I was their breakfast speaker. Friday afternoon, I was invited to stay to hear Vice President Pence. And after that, we actually had a conversation about this city and about the things that need to happen. Now, that would not have happened without God, and I know that. He orders my steps. So when you see me and you think I'm going this way and I should be going that way, understand I'm listening to him. And it may look convoluted, but if he says it, I'm going to do it. Because I've seen what happens when you don't. To that end, we've decided that it's time to fill the shoes that are set out there on that mantle and that table to be able to take this city in the correct direction. So we have put together, and when I say we, there's a group of us working on this. We are actually reaching out to President Trump, Vice President Pence, and Governor Hogan, and asking them to declare Baltimore City a state of emergency. And there are a couple of quick reasons why. Better than 90% of our school buildings are unsafe, and due to lack of both heating and cooling, rodents and unsafe water, in addition to 38% of our schools that have students with zero proficiency in math. Whereas the U.S. as a whole has a homicide rate of 5.3 per 100,000. The city of Baltimore has a homicide rate of 56.6. And recently, because of this, Amnesty International, the country of Venezuela, and 3 other South American countries have imposed a travel ban on people traveling to this city. Are you all aware? I kid you not, Google it. Amnesty International has issued a travel ban to the city of Baltimore. We cannot let that stand. And whereas now in this city, there are so many food deserts that the city's no longer tracking food deserts and is calling it what they're saying, food challenged priority areas, and has declared that 1 in 4 residents in the city of Baltimore is food challenged. Now, when you get up in the morning, they tell you the first most important meal of the day is breakfast. So then you send your kids off to school and expect them to have a safe day and actually learn something. In this city, with so many things being out of kilter, let's just say, to put it nicely, it is very difficult for people to go to school, for children to go to school and hope to have an education. Now, we won't even talk about the curriculum and Common Core. We won't do that. But if you're in the building, you're still not getting what you need to be getting from that building. So we are asking for a joint state of emergency. I had the opportunity to speak to some folks in the National Guard recently, and they said that when they're deployed, when they were active military and deployed overseas, they do what they call a block plan, to actually not try and fit squares and circles and circles and squares, but to actually make a plan for the different blocks and communities and neighborhoods, to not just put a cute Band-Aid on stuff, but to actually fix it. We need to hold our leadership accountable to fix the problems. No more Band-Aids. I'm sure I am pretty much out of time, so I wanted to say thank you to you all for taking time out on your Sunday to come out today. I wanted to say thank you to my husband for dealing with so much. And I wanted to say thank you to Candace Owens, or Mrs. Farmer. Candace, I know you're listening. Thank you for putting Baltimore on your radar and for showing this city some love that it desperately needs. Thank you all.
With the quick fuse, I was uptight, wanna let loose. I was dreaming of bigger things and wanna leave my old life behind. Not a yes sir, not a follower. Fit the box, fit the mold, have a seat.
Our next speaker is a wonderful man, a man of God, great father, an author of an amazing book. Help me introduce David Harris Jr.
What's up, Baltimore? How's everybody doing in the house today? Are you guys excited to be here or what? Do you realize that you are a part of history? Every single one of you are a part of history today. Nothing like this has ever taken place inside this country before. The unity that you all came to this place with in your heart is something that's unprecedented. And can I say that the United States of America will never be the same because of you. I'm so thankful for Candace Owens, the visionary that she is. Somebody that said, you know what? People need to stop talking about the problems and actually do something about it. Do you guys know there's protesters outside? You saw them? I was standing right there in the middle of those protesters. And you know what? The one thing I didn't hear any of them say? They weren't talking about any solutions. Why do protesters never talk about solutions? And why do they not want to answer any questions? Because they don't know the answers. So how are we going to get anywhere as a people, as a country, if we're not willing to listen to one another? You guys are willing to listen to one another. You guys are some of the most multicultural, multifaceted, from different backgrounds that I've ever seen in my life. And that spans all across the country. I speak all across the country. I meet so many amazing people. And one thing that stands out to me is their love for God. I'm so thankful for Shannon and her message today. There's a thread that unites every single one of us. It's an understanding and an appreciation for God, a belief in Him and His love for us, and the fact that we weren't born in this time and in this era by accident. If you don't believe in God, then maybe you just think it's an accident that you're here. Maybe it's just, well, this is just the time I'm in. No, you were born for this time, for this era, for this very hour, to be in the United States of America. You realize you could have been born anywhere in the world? You had the privilege of being born in the greatest country to ever exist, at the greatest time. You know, my first video that went crazy was right after the third debate between Trump and Hillary. When I had a couple thousand friends on Facebook, I didn't have a Facebook page. I didn't know Candace Owens. I didn't know Brandon Tatum. I didn't know Rob Smith. I didn't know Larry Henry, Kingface One down here. I didn't know. And you know what? I wasn't really paying attention too much. I had came out in opposition against Barack Hussein Obama. I had came out very publicly about that. You know the number one reason? His stance on abortion. His stance on partial birth abortion. He even voted against the bill that would have given life resuscitation to babies that had survived attempted murder. And this man became the president of the United States. And what did he do for the black community? What did he do for his own city of Chicago? What did he do for Christians? And yet, America elected him twice. And yet, there are still people that want to say America's racist? Are you kidding me? How in the world can a country elect a black man as president, and yet you still want to say, oh, the country's racist? It doesn't make any sense. You got to choose what you're going to believe. Unfortunately, so many people, and this is the current state of the Democrat Party and the mainstream media who are working in tandem. You got to understand, the mainstream media is the propaganda arm of the Democrat Party. The exact same way the KKK was the militia arm of the Democrat Party. It's the same thing. I can always tell what somebody's paying attention to, who they're investing their mind in, and what they're watching and where they're getting their information from what kind of stats they want to spout back to me. So many people are only listening to one side. I listen to CNN. I listen to MSNBC because I want to know what the heck they're talking about that's so crazy. It's got all these people all stirred up talking about all this nonsense. It is a non-stop 90+% of the time. They are spouting nothing but hatred, division, doing nothing but trying to stir up emotional responses in Americans, especially the black community, that don't have their own sound understanding. They are manipulating us in order to control us, in order to dominate us. You know what the KKK's agenda was? Manipulate, dominate, and control by any means necessary. What is the mainstream media doing? Manipulate, dominate, and control the people. That's why we call it the Democrat plantation. It's a plantation of the mind. It's one of the hardest things to change a person's mind when they have their mind made up. That's control. That's why the mainstream media tries so hard. And you got to give them credit. They're obviously doing a good job because there's a whole lot of people that know a lot of non-facts but feel really emotionally about it. They think they know. Oh, you can't tell me nothing. I was outside, and these protesters are spouting off all this nonsense. Anti-BLEXIT this. Expletive Candace Owens. F this, F. I'm like, you know what? I'm just trying to ask you a question. Do you know that Candace actually said, you know what? Let them come inside. Let them come inside. So I went out there with the intention of saying, hey, you guys want to come inside and actually listen to what these people have to say? How do you think that went? They don't even want to hear it. They are so emotionally stirred up with no facts that it cuts them off from even being open to hearing the other side. You know what that is? It's immaturity. And yeah, I heard somebody say it, it's slavery. But it's a mental slavery, but it's an immaturity because grown folks, adults, even young teenagers can learn to sit and have a dialogue with somebody that they don't agree with so that they can try to find out what the other person actually means. Abraham Lincoln, the Republican that freed the slaves, said, when I begin to reason with a man, I spend 2/3 of my time thinking about what he's trying to say to me. I'll tell you, this is an issue in communication, period. And being married for 25 years to my high school sweetheart, I can tell you, most arguments and disagreements would not take place if the person that was listening was actually listening. So many of us, I'm guilty too, I've done this plenty. I had to work real hard to make sure I didn't do this. So many of us, when we're in a dialogue, we're so excited to have something to say in return, and we're thinking about what we're going to say in return that we're not even listening to the person. That's a problem. But I'll tell you, while I think it's a problem, period, it's definitely a bigger problem for those that think they're right while they're sitting on that plantation mindset. They're not willing to listen to anybody else. So I got to give it up to you guys. How many of you guys in here have shared somebody that's on this stage's videos or somebody that's a conservative voice? How many of you guys have shared something? See, you guys are the army. You guys are the real army. Give yourselves an applause, really. Give yourselves an applause. Thank you so much. You guys are the real army because none of us would be up here. We wouldn't have the voices that we do. We wouldn't have the ability to reach other people if you weren't sharing. And in the audience, and people watching this as well, voices like yours are also going to start to pop up because you know why? We can't do this ourselves. It's not about us. It's about the message. And you know what the message is? We are in the most pivotal time in our country's history. I truly believe that. I thought 2016 was the most pivotal, and I believe that it was at that time. But we're not there now. Now we have political candidates that want to become the next president of our United States that are openly calling for socialism. Are you kidding me? And they don't get booze. I wish they got booze. I really do. They don't get booze. They get applauded. That tells me there's a whole lot of people that are misled in our country. And how are they going to hear a message that even plants a seed to change their mind? How? That's right. From you. From you, from your own voice, and from you sharing other voices of truth, of knowledge, and of impact. We've got to do this together. We've got to come together as a nation, as a country. And for my black brothers and sisters out there, we've got to come together as a people. I watched something so amazing on my way to Baltimore today. Candace Owens. I mean, here's what's really taking place in our country. Our sister, Queen Visionary Bee herself, Candace Owens, was invited by Sean P. Diddy Combs to speak at a Revolt conference that was all black folks. All black folks. In Atlanta. You know who else was there? T.I. was there. Tip was there. You know who else was there? Katrina Pearson was there. Killer Mike was there. But for Sean P. Diddy Combs to invite Candace Owens and Katrina Pearson to an all-black gathering in Atlanta? Folks, something is shifting. And it's because of you and your ability and your desire to share the truth that we share. Because you share and videos go viral, the message goes viral. When the message goes crazy, people see it. For P. Diddy to have Candace and Katrina on the stage, and it was an hour and a half, and Candace held her own, and she was in a room full of wolves. They were not giving her any love. Thank God for Killer Mike on the stage with her on the panel that actually said, hold on a minute, y'all need to shut up and let her actually talk and finish what she's trying to say. He would say one thing, and because he's accepted in the black community, it would be received completely different than when Candace said the exact same thing. That is truly a disgusting and despicable thing for especially our own black community, to hate our own black community so much just because of their political affiliations. I posted a video yesterday on my Instagram. If you're not following me, David J. Harris Jr., Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, I posted a video of very graphic, very, very disturbing video. I was really upset. It was about 8 to 10 black guys in Minneapolis that were teeing off on one white guy. Anybody here see that video? Disgusting. Absolutely disgusting to see a gang of people. And the guy initially in the beginning was just sitting there next to him. It looked like one of them tried to take his phone, and when he tried to say that's not going to happen, they all ganged up on him. I believe that the reason that that kind of hatred and violence is brewing in the black community is because of what Barack Obama started when he was in office, and the mainstream media continues to push that he's a racist. Donald Trump is not a racist. He's disavowed white supremacy. He's disavowed white nationalism. He's disavowed the David Duke and the KKK, I don't know how many times, at least over 20 times. And can you believe that T.I. had the audacity and the ignorance, T.I., I hope you're watching, because it was really ignorant, for him to say that Donald Trump has never disavowed white nationalism or the KKK. T.I., a very well-respected brother in the hip-hop community, out of pure ignorance, said to an entire room of black folks, and obviously the hundreds of thousands that were going to watch it later, something that is absolutely not true. Something that if he took his time and actually did his own research and used a little thing called YouTube, T.I., you'd find out that Donald Trump has disavowed them over and over and over and over again. What that proves is that he's being misled just like every single other person that's watching the mainstream media. And he's so emotionally wrapped up in thinking that he's right that he's unwilling to even look at any of the positive things that Donald Trump and his administration's done. Can I tell you something? Donald Trump is not a racist. You know who was? Lyndon Baines Johnson. Can I tell you what? If Lyndon Baines Johnson was in the White House right now as the president, and he was passing prison reform, which was getting blacks out of prison by the thousands, reuniting them with their families, I would say that's amazing. That's a great thing that he's done. If Lyndon Baines Johnson said, come to the White House so we can talk about how we can help the black community, I'd say let's go see what we can do. You know who else did that? Martin Luther King Jr. He met with them because he said, you know what, while I know what you are, I also understand the power that you hold. And if you are willing to do something that could have a positive impact on my community, I'm not going to cut you off. I'm at least going to go meet with you. I'm at least going to see what you have to say. And I'm going to see if maybe God is using me to get in the position of talking to you, to talk some sense into you. Black folks don't want to do that today. Why don't black folks want to do that today? They're brainwashed. And to top it off, Donald Trump ain't Lyndon Baines Johnson. Donald Trump has done more for the African American community, the Hispanic community, women in this country, and America as a whole than any past president that I know of. And he's going to win again in 2020 because we all know that he's the best president that we've had in our lifetime. He's going to win in 2020 because he stands for life. There's a rumbling. I spoke 2 weeks ago in D.C. at the Trump Tower. Dr. Lance Wallnau. He was the first one. Has anybody in here heard of the Cyrus effect that Trump, they likened Donald Trump to Cyrus out of Isaiah 45? Lance Wallnau, Dr. Lance Wallnau, good personal friend of mine. He was the first one to come out and actually make the correlation. It was about a year before Trump won the election and said, God spoke to him and said, Isaiah 45, look at Cyrus. He rebuilt the wall. How many of you guys know the wall's going up? He protected the Jewish community. In today's day and age, we need to protect the Jewish community and we need to protect the Christian community. Do you guys understand what's at stake if a Democrat was to win 2020? The emotional turmoil that has reached a boiling, it's been boiling over, and the mainstream media, I've got videos, I've got clips of different mainstream, of MSNBC, CNN, ABC, NBC. Donald Trump's a racist. He's a racist. He's a white nationalist. He's anti this. All these lies they continue to spout about our president. Do you know what would happen if a Democrat won 2020? Before, because I definitely believe a civil war would ensue. Before that, they would target every single person that has supported the president because they're going to say we're all racists. Do I look like a racist? How can I be racist against myself? I love myself. God made me beautifully. You too. The Bible says you're beautifully and wonderfully made. We should love each other and ourselves, and I love myself. I am not racist against myself. And I support the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump. That is the power and the freedom that we have in this country. But if a Democrat was to win, they are pushing the ball so far down the road of socialism, folks, that the Americans that understand what's at stake, they're not giving up their guns. They're not giving them up. Yeah, try it. That's exactly what I hear all the time. You try to take my guns. Killer Mike even said that revolt. He's like, black folks need to be armed. So you're telling me that the administration is racist, cops are racist, and then you want my guns? Are you kidding me? And yet all of that is coming from the left. All of it's coming from the left. If a Democrat was to win in 2020, it would be a target on all of us that supported the president, and I also believe it'd be a target on Christians. The event I spoke at in D.C., all Christian gathering, 300-400 plus live streamed. There is a growing awareness that is uniting the Christian community of the ultimate fate of our nation if Donald Trump was to not win in 2020. They are waking up. They are uniting. Are you uniting? Are you woke? Are you trying to wake up your community? Are you afraid of the backlash of talking to a family member? Be honest. I love that. I really love that. That's because y'all follow Candace and you're part of BLEXIT. That's why. You don't know how many people I ask that to, and they shyly want to say, well, I try. I wish I could wear my hat. You want to know how racist the president is? He shared a video of a black man wearing a MAGA Trump hat, sitting in seat 1A first class on the airplane that waited for everybody to get behind him so he could turn his hat around and make sure they all saw it all the way home. Y'all see that video? Yeah, that was my video. The president's so racist, he shared my video on his Instagram, on his Twitter, and his Facebook. Unfortunately, the black community says, well, he just does that because he's trying to act like he's not. So you're telling me that every single thing that the president has done that has a positive impact for the black community, historic record low unemployment for the black community, historic low Hispanic unemployment, over 50-year low unemployment for women? Are you kidding me? Oh, and he just does that because, no. Eventually, they're going to have to stop making excuses for being so ignorant. They're going to have to stop making excuses because he's going to keep doing what he's doing, which is making America great for all of us. He doesn't care your color. You know, I shared this. This might come out in my second book. I don't know, but I shared this. I've met some racist folks. I've met racist people. You can tell. You can feel it. Even if they're trying to be nice to you. I had to take my girlfriend, my semi-formal prom in high school. I had to have one of my good friends, a white guy, go to her house and pick her up and bring her to the dance because if her daddy knew she was seeing me, she wasn't going. I grew up in a predominantly white area. Most all the black folks there were my cousins. I'm serious. I have met racist folks. I remember one of the first times, I didn't even know it was racism at first. I was on a water slide. I was at the very top. I was waiting to go down the slide. And I was maybe 12 years old, like maybe this tall. I sneezed, and like a good boy, like my mama taught me to, you say, excuse me. As soon as I said, excuse me, a taller white man looked down at me and said, there is no excuse for you. I felt that in my heart. I didn't know why at first. I felt that in my heart. I'm like, that was just so ugly and uncalled for, unnecessary. He don't even know me. I didn't have anybody with me to back me up. I just had to deal with it. Later on, I told a friend of mine, and he said, I bet you he was racist. I said, that makes sense. I've met some racist folks. That's just one. I've met some racist folks. I've met the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, 3 times. I have never felt anything but love and respect from that man when he shakes my hand. Each time I met him, I got to shake his hand. The last time I got to take a selfie with him. I actually got a selfie video. I was like, I'm not just clipping this. I'm going to video the whole thing. I got a selfie video with the president. Not one time have I felt any type of ill intent, hatred, evil, which is racism, from that man. He stepped out of his private life, multi-billionaire life, to fight for you and for me. Because just like he told Oprah almost 30 years ago, if it gets so bad that I have to run, then I'll run. Where was T.I. and all these people calling him a racist when they were all going to his parties? Where was the mainstream media calling him a racist when they were talking about how amazing he was? The business mogul, Mr. Apprentice, Mr. Universe, all the things that he had. No, they weren't. It's when he chose to run on a platform that is against the propaganda arm of the Democrat Party. That's when it all happened. So I'm thankful for BLEXIT. I'm thankful for you. I'm thankful to be alive at this moment and time in history. Are you thankful to be alive at this moment and time in history? You are the ones that have the power to help make sure that Donald J. Trump stays elected, stays our president, gets reelected, and continues to give us another 4 years. You are the ones. I believe God appointed him, chose him, but we're the ones that have to put in the work. Are you ready to put in the work? Are you ready to put in the work? Then together we're going to keep America great. David J. Harris Jr., God bless you.
Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, please welcome Army veteran and political activist Rob Smith.
What's going on, BLEXIT Baltimore? How y'all doing? Man, oh man. It is amazing to see so many happy, joyful, diverse faces in the crowd that are here to help the BLEXIT from the Democratic Party. The BLEXIT from the left. Now, I want to start off with a little story. All right. So I was on a little holiday over the weekend. My husband and I went to go see some friends upstate. I got on the Amtrak to come here from New York City. When I'm on the Amtrak, I run into no other than Donna Brazile. Right. But no. Nice lady. We got to talking a little bit about politics and about the world and all of that stuff when we were in line. And I said, well, you know, Donna, I'm heading to an event called the BLEXIT, headed by Candace Owens. So I'm going to tell Candace that you said hi. And she said, oh, do that. And she said, well, what is the BLEXIT? And I said, well, Donna, the BLEXIT is the black exit from a Democratic Party. And she told me, Donna Brazile, this is a very wise lady, very wise, very nice. She told me, well, young man, politics is about addition and not subtraction. And I said, yes, that is why I'm trying to add more black people to the Republican Party. Right? True story. And she had a lot of interesting things to say about what the future is. But now that I'm in Baltimore, I think a lot about Baltimore. I came here a couple of times. I came here about a month and a half ago for a video that you may have seen that I did for Turning Point. It was a black conservative, me, that had a message to some of the politicians that have continued to fail cities like Baltimore over and over and over again, right? And I know this because I am from a city like this. I am from Akron, Ohio. So when you take the Amtrak, and I'm coming from New York City to Baltimore, and you always see, I always get the window seat, and I'm always looking out of the window. And you see the really great suburbs, you see the nicer houses, and then the closer you get to the city, things just start getting a little bit more run down, and things just start getting a little more decrepit. And I remember that, and I remember when I was coming to Baltimore to do that video, I was also working on an op-ed as well, because this whole sort of nationwide furor happened when the president said something about, Baltimore is infested and it's this and it's that. And then people were trying to act as if that was a direct attack on the people, which it was not. Because we're not, when we say things like that, and when we talk about Baltimore, or we talk about Akron, where I am from, or when we talk about Atlanta, or when we talk about Chicago, we are not talking about the amazing people that are from these cities. We are not talking about some sort of deficiency with them. We are talking about the deficiency with their politicians who continue to let them down over and over and over again. So when I did that video, I was angry, and I don't use a script. Nobody writes what I say, and you know what? Let me just shut that down right now. There is nothing that comes out of Rob Smith's mouth that Rob Smith does not think about or write before he says it. All right, so let's make that clear. So when I got to Baltimore and I did that video and I was saying all of these things, this is what I felt. I was with a production crew for Turning Point, and they were doing the video, and we were just walking around some of the neighborhoods in West Baltimore, and we were walking around some of the bombed out brownstones, and we were walking around piles of trash, and we were walking around all these different things, and for me, it just made me angry. And it made me think about what my hometown, Akron, Ohio, looks like when I go back. Because when I walk through Baltimore and I see a place that has had their people let down by politicians who don't care, who only care about money, who only care about power, who only care about notoriety, who only care about being famous, when I see that, I think about what it looks like when I visit my family in Akron, Ohio. I'm going to be back in Ohio in a couple of weeks. My grandmother's 85 years old, and she is finally retiring fully. She's done worked her entire life. And I don't get back to Akron, Ohio a whole lot, but I know when I get back there, I will see the places that used to be open, the places that I used to go to when I was in high school, boarded up, shut down. I see houses where I used to live in the neighborhoods being foreclosed on. I see people that don't really have a lot of hope, people that don't really have a lot of motivation, people that don't feel like they have control over their lives. And that was the energy and the anger that I took in me when I did that video about Baltimore. And when I say things like that, like I said, we are talking about the politicians. We are not talking about the people, because the people know that politicians have failed them. The people know that it is time for a change. And a lot of the people that are BLEXITing from the left are realizing that those policies just don't work for us anymore. And maybe they never really did. You know, I call myself America's favorite black gay Republican. It's a joke, haha, it's funny. And I get a lot of crap on social media at all times. I think I commented on Candace's Instagram today, and somebody said, "Oh, black gay Republican, GTFO, like, you know, get out of here." And I'm like, you shouldn't, just because this is who I am and I'm a Republican or I'm not on the left doesn't mean I am insane. What is insane is you continuing to vote for the same policies over and over and over again that are getting you absolutely nowhere. That's the definition of insanity. Now, when we talk about leftist policies that are destroying cities, I'm not just talking about Akron, Ohio, because that's where I'm from. I'm not just talking about Baltimore, because that is where you all are, and that is where we're at right now. I'm talking about all of these cities across the country. I'm talking about New York City, which is where I live right now. And if you ask anybody about leftist policies, if you ask anybody about the failure that leftist policies and lazy politicians bring to city, they will have 3 words for you: Bill de Blasio. All right? Because I have lived in New York City for 11 years. I've never seen so much homelessness. I have never seen the public school system worse. I've never seen so many people that don't feel like they have any options and don't feel like they have a choice. So for me, giving up the leftist policies and coming over to the right tells me that I have a choice. And when I see people from social media that are black or gay or Latino or Asian or whatever, any other quote-unquote victim group that was told from time and time again that they are not supposed to be on the right, that they are supposed to be safely on the left, when they come to me and they see me making that change, it makes them more motivated to make that change as well. When they see, it makes them motivated to make that change as well, right? And so when you're out here rocking your BLEXIT gear, wearing your Keep America Great caps, or wearing your Make America Great Again caps, and wearing them proudly, know that there are so many other people out there that do not feel or is not as bold as you are. They're not as bold as you are to wear your political beliefs on your head or on your chest or blast it out to tens and thousands of followers on social media. And so when I'm at an event like BLEXIT, or I do the video for Turning Point USA, or I am seeing Candace being amazing, or I am being inspired and motivated by David J. Harris Jr., right? What I realize is that all of these people are motivating so many other people. And they are motivating that majority to not be so silent anymore. And if you see what has happened over the past 2 years with our president, with different policies that are going on, with things that are making actual change in people's lives, it makes the charlatans of the left seem that much faker. When you have Candace Owens on a panel, like David just brought up, when you have her on a panel with these fake woke rappers and these fake wannabes in the entertainment industry, right? When you have her holding her own against these people, it's because she knows the truth. Like I know the truth. I was on Capitol Hill with Candace and David and and Brandon Tatum, I believe, lobbying for the First Step Act for criminal justice reform. This is the most comprehensive criminal justice reform that was launched in a generation. 91% of these prisoners that were released under the First Step Act were African American. Like, these were black people. So I have seen with my own 2 eyes policies actually come together to benefit the people. So don't sit on a panel and tell me that, oh, there's a white supremacist in the White House, oh, they're doing this, oh, they're doing that, to try to play on my emotion, to try to make me not see what I can see with my own 2 eyes. Because I can see it. And when you're paying attention, you see it. You feel the effects of a good economy. You see people being released under criminal justice reform. You see so many things that are changing in a positive way right now in this country. And one of the most positive changes that is happening here on the right side is that I'm seeing, looking out in crowds like this, and I'm looking out at crowds like this a lot, and I see so many different faces. And the faces that I see here are the faces that are going to take America into whatever our next phase is, because this is beautiful. And Donna Brazile said something else to me today. She said, Republicans got us out of slavery, Democrats got us civil rights, but now we have to figure out who's going to take us to the future. And if I had to talk to Donna Brazile right now, a lady who I respect for what she has done in this world, I do, but I would say what you're missing is that the future is happening right now in rooms like this, with rooms with people that look like this. Because there is no way for me that you can claim to be for change in this society. Whether you're white, black, Asian, Latino, gay, straight, whatever, you cannot claim to be for change and then decide that you're going to fall asleep or you're going to resist as soon as somebody gets in the White House that you may not like. Because if you are for change and you are really about change, you make that change happen regardless. And that's why work is getting done right now. That is why orders are being signed to help historically black colleges and universities. This is why African American people are being released under criminal justice reform. This is why the administration is launching this global initiative to decriminalize homosexuality. Like, these are things that are absolutely happening right now. So aside from all the administration talk, I'm unofficially on the Trump 2020 train. I like to read a lot of books about motivation. And I like to read a lot of books about, from business leaders, from people that are entrepreneurs, from people that are really, really successful. And I was reading a book right on my way upstate, and it introduced a really interesting concept to me. And when I tell you about this concept, you will realize how adept the left is at manipulating this concept. And what it's called is the internal locus of control. Now, if I can explain this correctly, it basically just means like this. People that are highly motivated in their lives to succeed are that way partially because they have an internal locus of control that makes them feel in control of their life. So if I feel like I am in control of my life and in control of my decisions, I will be more motivated to succeed. And one of the case studies in this book is the Marines going through the, whatever the last thing it is that they do in the Marine basic training. You know, I'm an Army guy, so, you know, I did infantry basic training. I can tell you all about that. I'm not a Marine, but one of the case studies they use is the Marines. And they say that what they're trying to do is to not build these soldiers and build these people to just be robots who just take orders. They're building these people to make decisions. They're building these people to always recognize the fact that they are in control. And when I made my change over to the left, when I BLEXITed, when I moved from the left to the right, when I did all of that stuff, and I look at leftist policies, and I look at leftist politicians, what I realize is that every single thing that they say that is going to quote unquote help people is based on removing that motivation and removing that internal locus of control out of their lives. Student loan debt forgiveness, right? Give up your guns, student loan debt forgiveness, all of these different things that are designed to put control of your life out of your hands and in the control of the government. And when you really step back and realize how bad that is, you realize how smart the left is at pushing that agenda on people. This is why we have millennials and Gen Xers out here pushing socialism. This is why. Because people feel that they are not in control of their own lives. And you have to have that feeling that you're in control. This is what coming to the right has given me. Because I was, look, y'all, a lot of people in here may not know who I am. A lot of you people may have been introduced to me over the past year and a half because of Candace Owens or Brandon Tatum or any of these other people. But I've been out in these streets for a while, trying to find my own voice, trying to do media things, trying to figure out what I could do, how can I find my voice? And when I think back to those times when I was failing and not being successful, it was because I was always putting my success and whether or not I would have an opportunity in the hands of someone else. And I started winning when I took that control, when I found my internal locus of control, got motivated, and decided that I was going to do it myself, which is what I want for everybody in this country. Because look, guys, at the end of the day, we're all on the right in here, but at the end of the day, it's not about right or left or Dems or Republicans or anything like that. We all need for America to succeed because this is the greatest country on earth, right? And we have to work together in order to make that happen. And when we work together to build an electorate of people, when we get together to build a country of people that is engaged, that has that internal locus of control, that has that motivation to build up their own lives, to be better in their own lives, then America is better. Then America is greater, and America will stay great. I think sometimes that we don't talk enough about the effect that the recession had on millennials and on Gen Zers. Because what that recession told a lot of people, I have a theory that you deal with that recession in two different ways. Either you think that, I'm screwed and I just need a bunch of free stuff from the government, so I need the government to repay my student loans because I made the crazy decision to get some gender studies degree, right? So I need I need the government to pay off my student loans. I need free health care from the government. I need free. And they're not worried about paying taxes because they're not out here building anything. So they're certainly not out here really even worried about working, right? And so you had two types of people that came from that recession. You have people that want everything and people that realize that you have to build, create, and work for everything that you have. And what I want to do right now to wrap this up is I want to say that I've BLEXITed. I have made my decision to come to the right. My life has gotten better when I started to embrace the core of these lessons that I've learned over the past couple of years. And even though some people are very, very on the wrong path, this will not be a socialist country. But if we make sure that we engage everybody, that we engage the people in our backyards, that we engage the people in our communities, that we engage the people around us to love this amazing country that we live in, to motivate them to know that they can build, they can succeed, and they can achieve, then we will do our part to keep this country great, and we will keep on making it great. And that starts with our communities, because change does not start from the top down. I'm telling you, it starts from the bottom up. It starts from rooms like this. It starts at your workplaces. It starts at your churches. It starts anywhere where you can make that change. And I thank you so much for being a part of this change today. Thank you. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please enjoy a brief minute intermission. The show will continue in 15 minutes. Be sure to check out the tables in the back where you can sign up for other Black leadership events.
She wanna spend some time, that's a rolling. Started at the I get stolen. Met her at the West End with the best day. Kissing, they was sweating, doing lip things. Had to get up in that lit thing, yeah, the lit thing. Let her rock the mic, yeah.
never giving up. No, I'm never giving up. Never gonna give it up. No, I'm never gonna stop. Well, I've never been the kind to walk away from a good fight. You know I got it all up in my DNA. You're damn right. You can try to slow me down, but I don't stop. You can throw another punch, but I won't drop. I'm never giving up. No, I'm never giving up. Come at me with what you got. 'Cause I'm never gonna stop. I'm never giving up. No, I'm never gonna stop. Come at me with what you got. 'Cause I'm never gonna drop.
things get difficult, you gotta reach inside yourself. You're not alone.
Now maybe what you feeling is hard, or maybe what you feeling is dark, or maybe what you feeling is a feeling you ain't never felt and you don't even know where to start. But if you go in thinking that you can't do it, then guess what? You can't do it. I'm an example right here and I'll prove it. You will never get ahead without movement. Truth is, everything you do won't be the best. Failure can push you into success. Don't sit around in a mood and feel unrest. Do what you do, here are the steps. First, you gotta see it. Next, you gotta believe it. Then you go achieve it, repeat it, and then complete it. Class is in session for the teaching. Pay attention, this is what you see. Now when it feels like one thing after the other is going wrong, then you have to recover. You gotta dig deep. You gotta dig deep.
Push through the impossible.
And when you're feeling down on your luck and feel stuck, make sure that you don't give up. Get up, dig deep. You gotta dig deep.
Push through the impossible.
Have you ever wanted to quit? Have you ever felt you wasn't legit? Have you ever felt not on pace, maybe out of place, or maybe like you wasn't a fit? Feeling like that is in the norm. When you feel like you trapped up in a storm, but there's no looking back, keep it going. Now you got a new life, you were born. Battles get in the way, so channel your inner strength. Grind it to the end, you're stronger than what you think. Do not panic if you happen to sink. Instead remember this, cause you are the missing link. First you gotta see it, next you gotta believe it. Then you go achieve it, repeat it, and then complete it. Class is in session for the teaching. Pay attention, this is what you see. Now when it feels like one thing after the other is going wrong, then you have to recover. You gotta dig deep. You gotta dig deep.
Push through the impossible.
And when you're feeling down on your luck and feel stuck, make sure that you don't give up. Get up, dig deep. You gotta dig deep.
Push through the impossible.
You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me in the very dirt, but still like dust, I'll rise. You can shoot me with your words. You can cut me with your lies. You can kill me with your hatefulness, but just like life, I'll rise. Out of the huts of history's shame, I rise. Up from a past rooted in pain, I rise. A black ocean leaping and wide, welling and swelling, I bear in the tide. Leaving behind nights of terror and fear, I rise. I am the hope and the dream of the slave. And so, there I go rising.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage former police officer and radio host Brandon Tatum.
What's going on, Baltimore? I said, what's going on, Baltimore? I'm glad y'all here. I'm glad to see you. It's a great blessing to be here, man. I'm thankful that I've had the opportunity to come and speak life to y'all. My purpose here is to speak life, right? I'm not here to talk much about politics. I'm here to talk about the spirit that's within you. Where do you want to be? Who do you see yourself as? When you look in the mirror, are you the lion? Are you the lion? Are you in beast mode? Or do you want to walk around with your head down? Would you want to walk around with somebody handing you something? Or do you want to walk around with power? You want to walk around knowing that you run this thing. That your future is in your hands. Nobody else. I don't want to hear another excuse about the white man. I don't want to hear it. What you want your community to be is up to you. The way you raise your kids is up to you. How hard you go on your job is up to you. Nobody else. I learned this thing in life. Nobody's going to hand you nothing. And if they hand it to you, it ain't worth having. You got to fight for it. All of our ancestors have fought. They stood strong. They operated with integrity. They weren't waiting for somebody to open the doorway. They kicked the door in. And I want us to understand it. I want you to feel that. Because you need to take that from here. You need to take it out into your regular life. You need to take it out into your community and make an impact. Y'all can give that a round of applause. I want y'all to feel powerful. I want y'all to feel powerful. I'm tired of that weak energy, man. It's power energy. And I'll say this. The thing that makes me sick that goes on in our country is the idea that the police are against the people. That the police are against the people. And I'll say it for a third time so you get it in your spirit. The police are against the people. That is the biggest lie that they have told us in centuries. Let me tell you this. Growing up, some of y'all never believed this. I used to sag my pants down here. I had gold teeth in my mouth, tatted up, got my hood on my forearms. Now you wonder, how did that man come from that position with that mentality to now I'm on stage as a former police officer? I got to thank God first for it. Because if it wasn't for me getting saved in 2008, I wouldn't be here. But I'll say this. When I was growing up, I didn't have a positive idea of police in America. I didn't. Every time I got pulled over, I was like, oh, they pull me over because I'm black. They don't want to see a black man shine. They don't want to see me rolling. They don't see me rolling on 20s. I had 20s at the time. Some of y'all know what them 20s are. But I kept them clean, though. I kept them clean. But they didn't want to see me rolling, so they pulled me over for no reason. That's what I thought. When I was 8 years old, I got arrested for smoking marijuana in a vacant house. And for some of you guys who understand about marijuana, weed, I wasn't just smoking a little bit. I was smoking blunts when I was 8. My cousin and them used to have us smoking blunts. We were too young for that. That's why I can't remember nothing now. But that was my interaction with the police. They came and they came in like the SWAT team on us. We were in a vacant house. They pulled guns on us. They put us in the car. And I think I was the youngest. The oldest was 17. It was 6 of us. Well, it was 7 of us. The 17-year-old was the 7th one. He went to big boy jail, and they took all us to juvenile detention center. All 6 of us, they piled us in a police car in the back. And I don't know if you've been in the back of a police car, but it's small back there, right? It's not meant for you to be back there. So they put all 6 of us in there. 5 sitting across, 1 laying over the top. We were all handcuffed. They told us that we looked like sardines, and they laughed at us. And it made me upset, right? Even though I was wrong. I was wrong as 2 left shoes. But I was upset that they spoke to me like that. So I grew up having a negative thought process in my mind about the police department. Fast forward to me leaving college, former football player. I was in the NFL draft, didn't work out. I wish it did sometimes, but I'm kind of glad I didn't get the concussions and all the injuries that they got. But I needed a job. Never thought about being a cop. Never did. Not one time. But as a man, I understand that I have responsibilities. At the time, my son was just born. He wasn't even 1 yet. And I said, you know what? I'm going to put my pride aside, and I'm going to apply for every job, and I'm going to go to every job until I get an opportunity. I'm not waiting on nobody to give me nothing. I'm going to go fight for it. And I tell you what, I filled out a lot of applications and I got a lot of no's. And I had a college degree at the time. So one day, after an argument with my baby mama, y'all pray for me. We got into a little minor argument over the phone. And I'm talking to her, and I think we were arguing about the engagement ring. Y'all know how that is. Some of y'all know what it is. We were arguing about the engagement ring. Then the next morning, I get a phone call from the Tucson Police Department. And I say, oh, man, this girl done called the police on me. She's trying to get me arrested over an engagement ring. And so I answer the phone. I'm like, how can I help you? And they're like, Mr. Tatum, you applied for the position to be a police officer, correct? And I'm like, oh, yeah, let's talk then. We can talk now that I'm not going to jail. So, but that was the beginning. I said, I don't know nothing about policing. I know nothing, but I know I need an opportunity. I said, well, let me go do a ride along. I don't know nothing at this point. But what I see on cops, which is a skewed representation of what we really do. So I go and do a ride along. I roll up on this officer, Officer Sean Payne. I'm surprised he didn't pull a gun on me at the time. He told me he almost did. I roll up on the side of his car in the parking lot. And at the time, I had a Grand Marquis with 22s on it. I had my hat backwards like that. I'm tatted up. I'm like, what's up, man? He looking at me crazy. But I said, look, I want to do a ride along. He brought me on. White officer. So much for all that racism, huh? A white officer brought me in, took me on a ride along. And I'll tell you what, that changed my life forever. I used to believe that football players, nothing against them, I know how it is to work hard and do your thing. I used to think football players were heroes. Like, oh, man, Cedric Benson, R.I.P. to Cedric Benson. Sean Taylor, R.I.P. to Sean Taylor. Unfortunately, them brothers lost their lives. They were my favorite football players. They're heroes. Until I rode with a real hero. Sean Payne. We went from helping an elderly lady at a traffic stop change a flat tire. Nothing major, kind of cool, good hospitality. And then the next call that come out is a suicidal man, a young kid. It was a young kid actively cutting his wrist. We jump in the car. We're going about 75 miles per hour down a residential street. I had never driven that fast in my life on a residential street. On the record, just for the record. But we're flying, and we almost died about 3 times because people don't know how to move to the right. So if you see the police, move to the right. Don't get on your phone. Don't stop. Don't panic. Just move to the right. You help us out a little bit. So we're going down there, flying. Go through the intersection, flying. We get to the apartment complex. Now I had to hang back because they're doing real work. They kicked the door in. Once they all went in, I was able to come and peek around the corner and look. The kid was literally on a back table. There was kids laying on the floor. I'll never forget this. They were like asleep. They were laying on the floor, and he was at a table cutting his wrist. I saw Sean Payne go and save that boy's life. This same man that was on the side of the road with an elderly woman went and risked his life to save that young man. And I remember before we went to that call, he was asking me about my family. We get back in the car, he continues to ask me about my family, and my heart is going like this. And he said, what were you saying about your mom? I'm like, I got a mama? I didn't even know that. And I said, hey, you do this every day? He go, I do this every day. Every day? You out here doing this, putting your life on the line, leaving everything at home, willing to die for somebody you don't even know, and you do this every day? I said, I got to do this. God has already put it in my heart. I need to be that guy. I need to save and protect as many people as I can with the abilities that I have. All that running and training, now I can do that to protect other people instead of playing on the football field. So then I realized that all my life I had no idea what police actually did. I had no idea. Then I became a police officer. I was probably the youngest to ever be a public information officer, which is a spokesperson for the police department, the entire police department. It's probably 15 black folks on a 1,000-person police department. But out of that, I was one of the ones that spoke on behalf of the police department. I was on a SWAT team. I was a field training officer. I trained new officers as they came in. And I was a general instructor at the academy, meaning I taught people at the academy what they needed to know to become successful police officers. All of that I did because I had a vision of what I wanted to see in my community, and I knew I had to take the steps forward to be the change I wanted to see. And every time I see a police officer, most of them are good people. Don't get it twisted. There's some idiots out there, right? I was a part of investigations where we fired a few of them because they're trash and they have no business with the badge. And we stand against them every chance we get. We should all be in unison on that one. But for the majority of them, they're going out and they're risking it all. And you see one of them. I have a young son. I remember when he was just little and I started out. I'm all green behind it. I'm ready to go. But I left him at home. All of my dreams and aspirations I left aside to go and serve in the community. That was one of the greatest sacrifices that I've ever done. And I think we should give law enforcement a round of applause for them doing that every day. I'll never forget the amount of people I saved. Had a young girl she was trying to jump off a bridge to her death. And people that are seriously trying to kill themselves, they don't call. They're not going to call. They're committed. She didn't call. People called in for her. She was hanging on the edge, legs off the edge. Her fall was going to be sudden death. She was going to hit the railroad tracks and die. She was literally hanging off the edge. I was the closest person to the scene. I had to make a decision. I'll never forget pulling up, getting out, and I thought to myself, I don't want to die, but I have to get this girl off the edge of this bridge or she's going to die. I remember going and pulling her off the side. Cannot confirm or deny how hard I did that because I didn't want to fall off the edge. But that's just one example of many things that I did. I remember seeing people who were broken inside, opioid crisis, saw it firsthand. And I'll say this. Here's a myth that I think people should consider. Police officers, black, white, green, or orange, nobody likes seeing young men shot to death laying in the road. Nobody. For all this rhetoric of these white officers that go into the black community and they just don't care about black folks, it's lies. It's lies. You're watching TV, you're not watching reality. When you see all these Chicago shootings, who you think respond? Who do you think showing up? Who do you think see a 15-year-old laying, bleeding to death? They have to put him in a body bag. You don't get to go to the scene as a police officer and see, oh, he's dead, I'm going to do an investigation. No, you assist in putting them in a body bag. You have to investigate. You have to go tell the parents of that person that they're never coming back. That's the truth and reality in what police do. And I wish that people knew that so we can change our perspective. I'll say this, the lies of police brutality. Raise your hand if you believe that police officers kill more unarmed blacks than whites. Raise your hand. Just keep it 100. Raise your hand. Do you think that they kill more blacks than whites unarmed? Well, y'all woke. Y'all need to get them other people in here then. But it's true. This year alone, they've killed double the amount of whites unarmed than blacks. And people don't want to talk about that, but they want to fearmonger you. Think about the unarmed people getting shot this year in total. It's a small fraction of the black community. I think it's been, in Baltimore there was 1 this year. Across the country, I think there were 7 unarmed black people that were shot. There's about 40 million black people in this country, about 42 million if you include biracial black people. That's like 0.0000000 something percent of our community that gets shot unarmed by police. But that's the biggest threat to your life is what they tell you. They want you to hate them. You get pulled over on a traffic stop. How many of y'all been pulled over on a traffic stop? Oh, y'all better slow down. Better slow down. Speeding all day long. No, y'all wrong. How many of y'all been committing a violation but didn't get pulled over? Let me see where this white privilege come in at. I'm totally kidding. But when you look at the grand scheme of things, 300 million people in this country, and there's a select few people that actually get interactions with police and actually have negative interactions with police. How many of y'all have had a negative interaction? Keep it 100. I've had a negative interaction. I'll never forget the officer in Tucson Police Department before I became a cop that pulled me over. I was wrong. I was going around the speed bumps. I didn't want to mess up my 22s, so I was going around the speed bumps. But he got me. I said, fine, I was wrong. I ain't nothing to argue with you. But then he wanted to go further, right? He wanted to get in his emotions because he couldn't argue with me. And I remember that I hated him. It's a strong word. I went so far as hoping that he got killed. I'm going to tell you the truth. He had me out there. He was punking me, right? Oh, you want to go to jail? I could take you to jail. I'm like, officer, I didn't know that my registration being expired in another state is a misdemeanor. He arrested me and everything. He didn't put me in cuffs. You know, they paper arrest you. I remember hating him. But that doesn't mean that I have to treat every officer the same way, right? Think about this. Think about this for a minute. Black people, I'm saying all people, but this is a black event. Black people I don't like, and I know a lot of you will concur, I don't like when people judge all of us based on one person's actions, right? Just because some fool want to walk around his pants sagging with a gun, don't mean you got to take my gun. Just because some fool don't value his life, so he decided to take another man's life, don't mean that I'm doing that. Just because a fool want to tell me I'm acting white because I'm getting an education, that don't mean we all like that. And just because a police officer does something inappropriate, don't mean they all like that. I believe that's fair. But I'll say this. I keep saying that. That's my thing. I'm going to say this. I'm like my pastor. I'm almost finished. 30 minutes later, I still ain't ate nothing because we still at church. Raise your hand if that's your pastor. Oh, hey, white people too? Oh, I see y'all. I love messing with y'all. I almost forgot what I was going to say. Oh, about change. And I want to encourage young brothers, apply for the police department, right? You able-bodied, you can go down there and make a difference in your community. They need you. They need you. And listen, I'm not the one to play the race card, but I have been in situations, and for whatever reason, the way we're conditioned as people, when I would go on a call with the black people, they want to talk to me. I'm going to be honest. They want to talk to me. They didn't want to talk to the white officer. They felt connected to me right away, and they were still going to jail. But they felt like they'd rather go to jail with me, unfortunately. But that's the way we feel as a people. You identify with somebody, you're more likely to listen to them. You're more likely to feel like you can relate to them. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I used to be like the black people whisperer, right? I'm going to keep it 100. I go on the call. They yelling at my white friends. Oh, you put me over because I'm black. And I'm like, come on, bro. Get over here. Let's talk. You're making us all look bad. You know your license was suspended. But they listened to me. They felt that I can relate. And I think that it's invaluable for us to be a part of our community's solutions. For us to be a part of policing, not only because we now have the power to change, but because young people can see you. You know how many young brothers walked up to me and was like, that's a black police officer. I'm being honest. They'd never seen that before. It's important for us to represent in that manner. It's important for us to be a visual representation in our communities. Because it's just like this. We on the police department, we had officers who spoke Spanish. And we had a population in Tucson that people were comfortable or either only spoke Spanish. They got along with that community much better. And especially if you grew up in the same environment, now you understand culture better. It's just the way it is. I would go to a house, a Hispanic household, and another officer who was Hispanic who grew up just like the people that we went over their house, they related right away. And I took the back seat and I'm like, okay, I'll write the paperwork. It seems like you getting, they communicate with you. We need to understand that that's reality. I'm not saying a white officer couldn't go into a black community. I'm not saying a black officer can go in a white community. But what I'm saying is that we need to have an opportunity to represent where we live. We need to let the community feel like we're there. You still may get shot, you know. I mean, this is what it is. You pull a gun, you're probably going to get shot anyway. But we're going to be there, right? Do y'all agree with me? Raise your hand if you agree. Where I'm at on the time. I'm calling her out. She's looking at me crazy. But let me talk about something else before they give me the boot. So, also what I feel is going on that is really killing our society is the fake outrage and the fake stories of racism. All you got to do is look in here. There's a wide variety of different people in here. We all getting along just fine. There ain't no situation where the black folks don't feel like they can sit by the white folks. And come on, y'all. It's 2019. Most of us don't care. It's all about making money, too. You get what I'm saying? If you come to my business and you white, green, orange, handicapped, I don't care. I'm going to serve you just like I'll serve anybody else. And I think most of us understand that. But there is a mission and an agenda for people on the left. They can't have us unite. They can't have us unite. Forget party right now. Forget party. I'm talking about ideology. People on the left, they can't handle it. So they have to conjure up these fake issues. Jussie Smollett, that NFL football player that just vandalized his own business. Let me tell you how dumb he is. Jussie Smollett, he's dumb. He followed the guys. Y'all know he followed them on Twitter, receipts with his name on it. I mean, he's the easiest criminal to arrest. Police were licking their chops when they saw how dumb he was. Well, this guy is dumber, if that's even possible. He steals TVs out of the business, vandalize, right? The N-word, MAGA. He do all this. Then he get in the truck right outside the business with the TVs in it, with the paint he used, and he gets pulled over. The cops see him. He's suspicious. They pull him over at gunpoint. Get him out. He got all the materials in his car. And he got black paint on his hands. Come on, bro. You can't at least run from the scene. You got to get in the car and drive. But anyway, lies to divide us. And I'm going to finish with this last story, because this is the one that I've seen most people being confused on. Remember Felicity Huffman, right? You're the celebrity. Y'all know who she is? Raise your hand. So she got off on a pretty easy one. Big old fraud that she did, getting SAT scores, I guess, raised by paying $15,000 or some big college scheme she did. And then there was a lady named Tanya McDowell. So raise your hand if you think that was an injustice. Some of y'all woke. Some of y'all, I'm finna enlighten you right now. If you got your hands up, you finna be shocked. So the lady Tanya used she used a person's address, but she fraudulently used an address so her kid can go to a better school, right? Supposedly, Felicity Huffman got, I think, 14 days in prison that she had to serve, $15,000 fine. But Tanya got 5 years. Felicity is white, Tanya is black. How many of y'all think that was wrong? Oh, you about to be shocked. What they didn't tell you, I feel like I'm preaching right now. Don't your pastor do this? What they didn't tell you is that Tanya got arrested and charged with attempting to sell drugs to police and prostitution. That's why she got 5 years. Her sentence had nothing to do with her sending her kid to the wrong school. She got popped with crimes that would have given her a significant amount of time, but she did a plea deal that gave her 5 years. How many of y'all shocked? Raise your hand. They are lying to us. Lying. So that you can be mad at her. So that you can hate him. So that you don't talk to him. And y'all don't understand that you got more in common than you have in division. So I conclude with that story. But what I want to leave you with, just real quick, is that we need love. We should love each other. We should appreciate each other. And we have to understand that it ain't just black people got to do this alone. We need our brothers and sisters from the other side. I don't say the other side. We on the same team. But we got to work together. We're not supposed to go at it alone because we're all in this together. Think about the history of slavery. Harriet Tubman didn't do that by herself. She wasn't creeping to La La Land. Some white folks helped her out. Gave her a house to transport the slaves because they believed that it was wrong the whole time. You were free in the North. We've always worked together to succeed. And I want you guys to remember that. But next up is a wonderful brother. I call him my brother, even though we different colors. Same God, though. I don't know if y'all heard that. The same God, though. But this gentleman goes all around the country, insightful content, interviews. I think y'all know who he is. Help me give a great welcome to Witt.
Hola amigos, this is Witt with PragerU. Today we're at UCLA talking to college students and on Olvera Street talking to Hispanics in honor of Halloween and to see if my outfit is offensive. Dang it. Would you guys like to chat with us today? No? That's what we want to talk to you about. Hola. You find my outfit offensive?
Just, yeah.
You find it offensive? Do you find it offensive?
Maybe a little.
Do you think my outfit is offensive?
Are you Mexican?
No.
Yes.
I think it reaffirms stereotypes that are offensive to people.
You think people really think Mexican people are like this and carry around marachas?
No, I don't think people actually think that.
Do you find my outfit offensive?
Yes. Yeah.
Why?
Because it's not your culture?
Cultural appropriation? Why do you say that?
Because you're not, like, Mexican.
You think Mexican food is like cultural appropriation?
No.
Someone else's culture that we've kind of taken. Is this cultural appropriation? No comment.
You don't really understand what their culture means and what it means to wear these things, like the hats and the maracas. You know, you sort of have to understand where all of this comes from for it to not be cultural appropriation.
It's not yours.
Can I just ask you, do you like my costume?
I like your mustache.
Do you?
Monthly.
Does my outfit offend you?
You look, no. You look nice.
Thank you. Do you like my costume?
Yes.
Does it offend you?
¿Es ofensivo?
No.
No, nothing. That's good.
Sí. Mi guapo?
This is beautiful.
Beautiful. Acabo. Are you guys insulting me?
No, it's not.
Insulting me in Spanish? Do you like my outfit?
Oh yeah, it's awesome.
Does my outfit offend you?
No, not at all.
Some people get offended by what I'm wearing.
No, it's not. It's not offensive. I think it's you're in the right atmosphere.
Yeah. Lo único dice de mostacho, no original.
No original. Do you know who sold me this?
No idea.
Mexicans.
Oh, really?
And so you're white and you get offended, but then Mexican people who sold me this and made me this don't get offended.
Yes.
Seems kind of weird, doesn't it?
I love it, actually.
You think it's offensive?
No, not at all.
Some people get really offended by this. Why do you think that is?
I don't know, just you're not Mexican, so people think that you have to be Mexican to wear that.
I'm celebrating Mexico.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Are you Mexican?
I am.
See?
I'm not wearing it.
See? Well, that's okay.
Yeah.
Maybe we should swap outfits.
Yeah, exactly.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Witt.
What's up, guys? How are we doing?
All I do is win, no matter what. Got money on my mind.
Thank you. Gracias. That's what I should be saying. I haven't done one of these events in a while, and so I have to start it out with just letting you guys know again, I am not black, okay? We are putting the rumors to rest. I have to do it every single time I do one of these events. But just want to say, first of all, thank you to all of you guys for being here and for standing up for the values you believe in. That's incredible. That's incredible. So all of those Mexicans that you saw in that video to the left are basically token Mexicans, right? That's what the left would call them. They all have internalized racism, right? The stupidest thing that I've ever heard. I did a video where I went to California State University, Northridge. Do we have any Californians in here? Perfect, there you go. Well, I don't know if Baltimore is that much better, but I did a video where I went. I wore a Native American headdress, and a friend of mine, Mike, he was the Black Pilgrim. He dressed up as a pilgrim. And then we went out there for Thanksgiving, and we were giving out pumpkin pie to people, right? And whenever you go to a school in California, things never go as planned. And so we started getting verbally harassed, we got death threats, and then eventually they ended up kicking us off campus, saying how offended they were, how terrible and racist I was and the Black Pilgrim for wearing this, and then they ripped off my costume and we left. It was a very intense moment, I'll have to say. But after seeing this, I was like, okay, I want to put this to the test. And so I drove 900 miles to the Navajo Indian Reservation in Window Rock, Arizona, and I went and I asked them what they thought about the costume and what they thought about these issues. And not one of them was offended by the Washington Redskins name. Not one of them was offended by cultural appropriation. And not one of them wanted other people to get offended for them on their behalf. It is cultural appreciation, not appropriation. Okay? That's right. But as you guys know, if you're in college or you have kids who go to college, your kids are going to college and they're coming out stupider than when they went in. And that's the truth. I was just there. Okay? That's why I left. People are not born offended. Okay? If you get offended by me showing up on your campus in a sombrero and a mustache, you have to be at a university, okay? These things are not natural. You don't naturally wake up being offended. This is something that has to be taught. And it's because these college students are so young and impressionable and they've never heard a different point of view. They go to college and their virtue signaling academics are teaching them how terrible America is, how horrible white people are, and that my culture is not your damn prom dress, right? These are the issues that college professors teach. Students are going in and getting useless degrees, they can't find jobs, and then they come out getting offended by some white guy in a sombrero. It's ridiculous. So what does all this mean? All these white leftists getting offended? It really means that white leftists are the most racist people in America. And I'm white, I can say that, okay? I can talk about my culture. They think that their virtue signaling antics are helping minorities, when in reality, it undermines them. I don't know if you guys ever saw the video that Ami Horowitz did. I'm working with him right now actually on a documentary about how much California sucks. But, different story. But Ami did a video where he went around and talked to people, a bunch of leftists, and he asked them, about voter ID laws. And they said, yeah, they're racist because black people can't get an ID, right? This is what these people were saying. And then he went out into the hood and he asked black people about their IDs, and they're like, of course I have an ID. Like, what are you talking about? It's like this virtue signaling, this pandering that leftists want to talk about when they're talking about minorities, but it's like they don't even understand the communities or the people that they're talking to. It's insane. It's insane. The level of ignorance that they go off it's maddening, because they're all over everything. Hollywood, the media, your university, they're everywhere, but everything that they say is wrong. Like I'm saying, these leftists have been completely duping people and completely brainwashed everyone at university and all young people in America. And so I think that everyone is born a conservative, though. Everyone has to be born a conservative, and then you're taught to be a leftist. So a few months ago, I was in an Uber, right? And I was in a suit. I was in LA, mind you. And my Uber driver, she's a Hispanic woman. And she's like, oh, you look nice. What do you do? I'm like, oh, I'm a political personality. I make political videos. She's like, oh my God, that's so great that we have someone getting Trump out of office. Thank you. I'm just like, yeah, dude, for sure. I don't usually talk politics with Uber drivers about these kind of things because they find out I'm a Trump supporter, and one wrong turn, it's one less of us out there. But I ended up talking to her because I was interested, and I was going to a speech, for motivation and things like that. And it ended up that she was against affirmative action. She was against the welfare state. She believed in fathers in the homes, and she was a school teacher when she wasn't an Uber driver, and she was against putting transgender bathrooms into her school. It was like all these ideas that she talked about were conservative ideals, were conservative views, but she hated Donald Trump and Republicans, and she thought we were evil people, right? Is that not just so insane? I'm telling you that most people, when you get down to it, and if you don't mention Trump's name in the issues and the politics that you're talking about, and they will agree with you. They are just as conservative as you, they just don't even know it. Except for those people on campus. They're lost, okay? A study came out that showed when Democrats talk to minorities, when leftists talk to minorities, they actually dumb down their speech. They pander to people. You guys believe that? Is that not racist? Like, think about someone like Hillary Clinton saying, you know, what's one thing you always keep in your purse, Hillary Clinton? Hot sauce, right? I always keep hot sauce in my... You don't, right? That's pandering. They did the same study with conservatives and how they talk to minorities, and they talk to them just like they talk to everybody else. The main message that I want to get across to everyone today is that these white leftists, these politicians, don't care about you. I know that's a sad thing to say. It sucks. But they're using you for their votes and for their own selfish gain. They champion minority struggles as their own, but they know nothing about what is going on in your communities or what is going on with your issues. They have been using minority votes for far too long, and it's time to end that. But you know who does care? Conservatives. Conservatives care. Donald Trump cares. Because they understand that when you succeed, everyone succeeds. Conservatives are the party of America and the party of patriotism. And we realize that the only way for our country to be the best is for everyone living in it to be the best. And so I'll end with this. You guys heard from some amazing speakers today. I'm actually, before Candace, I'm the last speaker, and I'm the only white speaker. Seems a little racist to me. But we won't go there. But you guys have heard from some amazing speakers today, learned so much. And why would you even be here today if you weren't going to go out into your communities, to your friends, to your family, to your work, to your university, and tell everyone about what you've learned today and what the future of the country holds? I'm going out tomorrow to shoot a video and showcase what is going on here in Baltimore. Showcase what is going on. If anyone just after this has any recommendations for where I should go, please come and tell me. Because I don't know this city very well. But I'm bringing that up. I live in California, okay? I live in Hollywood. It's terrible. It's a horrible place to live, okay? But California hasn't always been that way, okay? California had Reagan. California was a conservative state. And now look at it, okay? It's leftist policies that have made California the way that it is, but it's because conservatives haven't stood up and done anything against it, right? Conservatives have capitulated to leftists for far too long, and we have to change that. In your college campuses, there are going to be so many times when people are going to yell at you and tell you how horrible your views are and try and shame you, but you have to be that student to raise your hand and give your opinion every single time. Because if you're not that student, no one else will be. It's a chain reaction, guys, where I do this event, and then all you guys go and tell one person, they tell one person, and that's how we can make a change. That's how we can make a change. But if you don't stand up and do anything against it, if you are silent, nothing will change. And everywhere in America is going to look like Hollywood where I live. And that's, no, not what we want at all. You know, I get a lot of the ideas that I talk about from Dennis Prager. As, you know, at PragerU, he's my inspiration. Thank you. I'm going to tell him you all clapped for him. You're going to make him very happy. I get a lot of my ideas from him, and we talk about the ninth commandment, you know, bear no false witness. And to me, this means telling the truth and how important it is to tell the truth. And you think about Nazis and communists and slavers, and all of these horrible atrocities that have happened have taken place because of lies, right? They were built on lies. Like slavery was built that, you know, black people are inferior to white people. And Nazi Germany, you know, Jews are inferior, so we want to exterminate them. Communism, I mean, the Russian newspaper was called Pravda, right? Just truth in Russian. It was all built on lies. And so, But I can guarantee you that there were Nazis who went home to their family every night and were great people for their own families. They were loving to their wife, their children. They were good people in that sense, but they were doing evil, horrible things, right? So it's the same with the leftists right now in America, is that they are convinced that the evil things that they are talking about, that they are doing, are actually good. I'm not saying that leftists all want to commit mass genocide, but what I'm saying is that they are convinced that these evil things that they believe in, these things that are destroying this country, are actually good for this country, that are good for people. And this is why telling the truth is the most important value in America right now. And we all have to do that. What defines every American is not the color of their skin, but the ideas that they hold. And the left has manipulated those ideas into a never-ending struggle that aims to destroy America and keep minorities down forever. And we're here to change that. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Black ocean leaping and wild,
Stink like rotten meat.
I bear in the cloud.
We've got some difficult days ahead, but it really doesn't matter with me now because I've been to the mountaintop and I've seen the promised land. But I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land. So I'm happy tonight. I'm not worried about anything. I'm not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord.
Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, please give a big welcome to your BLEXIT founder and final speaker, Candace Owens.
We got love.
Hello. How cute is she? I mean, absolutely adorable. The promised land. Don't you guys get chills when you hear MLK speak? I mean, I don't want to speak after him. I really don't. You guys enjoying yourselves tonight? How amazing are the speakers, right? Give them a round of the hand. You know, what we've started here, and this is why we finish with the promised land, because this is why we keep fighting, right? People say, how do you get up out of bed and take the hits that you take? I mean, I've been accused, literally, I woke up one morning and I was accused of a mosque shooting in New Zealand. Did you guys follow that? I mean, it was the most ridiculous. I'm like, I speak about Black America. I speak about minority America, refusing the lies of the left. I get up on stage and I basically say the same thing every time. I say, Black America, I believe in you. I believe in us. Hey, Hispanic America, minority America, Asian America, I believe in you. I believe in us. That's it. That message is considered dangerous. So dangerous that they are willing to put out a media hit against me. Anybody that can take Candace Owens down, there will be a prize. The headlines I have read about myself, they call me a black white supremacist. And anybody see white supremacy here tonight? I mean, the stupidity that it takes to come up with something like black white supremacy. Oh yes, please. I would like to help create a society that I can't live in. That would be the logic. I get up on every stage and I say, please, please, please oppress me. That would be the logic. And yet we have pockets of people that fall for it. We have pockets of people that are still believing the media lies. We have pockets of people that don't realize that the media, do you want to know what they're after? A civil war. When I turn on CNN and MSNBC and I watch what they are saying and the lies that they are spinning, they are after a civil war. What do you think they want when they say things like Candace Owens is a Nazi sympathizer, like Candace Owens hates Black America, that Candace Owens is inspiring mass shootings? What are they doing? They are giving permission for people to come attack me. That is what they are doing. They are saying to Antifa, you can show up where she is and you can do what you do and you can threaten her. We are giving you the permission and our hands are going to be clean. That is what they are doing. It is a sin and it is wrong, and they have gotten away for it for too long. People ask me all the time, what is BLEXIT? What is BLEXIT, Candace? What is it, right? It's Blacks, it's Latinos, it's Asians, it's also white people. White people too, waking up. We are all waking up to the left. We are waking up to what they've done. And it's not just a wake up, guys. It's an education. It's a re-education. Look at our schools. In Baltimore, not being able to find a single child that could pass a literacy exam across 5 schools. Why are they doing that? Because they know the truth. An educated mind can't be enslaved, so they have to make sure that we remain uneducated. They like their minorities emotional and reactive and not logical and rational. And so the challenge that I ask all of you minorities here today is when you see a story on any headline and it makes you feel something, stop right there and think first. Think first. In 2016, I had to do that because I was hurt. Just like you heard Brennan talk, I was hurt when I watched every person in this room felt something when we watched people bleeding out in cars because of a police officer. We all felt something because we're human beings and we have a heart. And the color of the person never mattered that was in the car. It never mattered. But then I stopped and I said, why? Why just before an election cycle are all of these liberal networks only showing this? Why are they showing black versus white? Why are they showing police brutality? What is this? And I looked at the statistics and I said, my goodness, as a black person, I have a higher chance of being struck by lightning than being struck by a police officer unarmed. Why are they showing this? Because they want us angry, because they want us emotional, because they want us irrational. Because when you are emotional, you are able to be manipulated and you are able to be controlled. I have watched the media create an entirely different Candace Owens. It's amazing. It's amazing. I've Googled myself and I said, ooh, this girl sounds horrible. I'm going to protest her. And I said to myself, it's incredible. They make me sound like I grew up like a privileged rich girl in Connecticut. No, I didn't. I didn't grow up as a privileged rich girl in Connecticut. I grew up living in an apartment with my 2 sisters sharing a room where we had to have an exterminator come every month for roaches. They say they know what people think when you hear Connecticut, right? That's what they do. Candace grew up in Connecticut where the median income is $100,000. They're not commenting on my family. They just want to make you think that I grew up and I've been out of touch with Black America. They don't want you to know what I lived through. They don't want you to know that I grew up with uncles in prison and I visited my uncle in prison when I was a small child. They don't want you to know that I made a conscious decision when I was a child to live a different life. I was the little girl, and this is what BLEXIT is for, the little girls that are wondering if there's something else, that are living in existence and saying, I don't want this for myself. I always tell the story to people of my first play date, and it's an important one, and I will never, ever forget this. And it's stunning how when something is so important in your life, your brain just locks it in there like it was yesterday. I was 5 years old when I had my first play date. I didn't go to preschool, so my whole existence was where we lived in this low-income housing structure in Stamford, Connecticut. I didn't know anything outside of it. Everything I saw every day was Black people and Hispanic people. And then I went to school, and my first friend, her name was Lindsay, and she invited me over for a play date, and I was so excited to go. And when we got to her house, I was shocked as we were driving that the houses just got bigger and bigger and bigger. I said, oh my goodness, do people live like this? I went into Lindsay's house, and she had this beautiful big white house in Stamford, Connecticut, and she had a nanny and everything was perfect in her house. She had a play date, extra space in the basement that was converted into a playroom for her and her sisters. Everything in her room seemed to me like it was Victorian style. She had glass dolls, and I said, my goodness, I can't believe people live like this. I want that. In that moment, I decided that I wanted that. I wasn't bitter. I wasn't jealous. I wanted to know how I could become that, how I could live like that. And then you know what happened? They put me in the school system after kindergarten. You start learning. And the teachers, what are they teaching people actively? Well, the reason Lindsay lives like that and you live like this is because of the color of your skin, right? That's where they start the programming. This was liberal Candace. I was learning actively to think that white people had something against me. This is what the public school system, when you have to understand the uphill climb that we have, the public school system is teaching us that we are oppressed and that it's because of the color of our skin. They're not telling us that we are the authors of our own destiny, that we're in the driver's seat, that we have to make different decisions. They didn't want to say to me, hey, Candace, if you wanted to live a different life, your mother could have made some different decisions. My mother dropped out of high school. My mother grew up in and out of group homes coming out of her life. She was one of 9 children, right? Those are different decisions that could have been made. My mother had all of her children out of wedlock. These are different decisions. We don't learn about that in school. How do we start teaching people that they are the authors, that they are in the driver's seats of their own destiny? I was blessed, and I really do believe this. I was blessed in 2016, and I never tell people who they support as candidates. So please go out, do your own research. I'm just telling you my story. I was blessed in 2016, in 2015 actually, when Donald Trump came down the escalator. And I'll tell you why I was blessed. He came down that escalator, and I was a liberal. I didn't know much about politics, but I knew that I had to be a Democrat because of the color of my skin. I knew that, right? I knew I was on the left because of the color of my skin. And he came down the escalator, and my first thought was, ooh, no, not him. Ooh. Is that the guy that says you fired? The President of the United States? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But then, more importantly than the things that I was thinking, were the things that I wasn't thinking. You see, I was thinking, okay, he's a reality TV star. He shouldn't be President of the United States. He says you're fired. That's too gimmicky. That's making our country a joke. No way. But I wasn't thinking this man is a racist. But the media suddenly exploded, and they said he's a racist. He's a sexist. He's a misogynist. At one point, if you guys remember this, they were saying that he was incestuous and he had feelings for his daughter, Ivanka. You guys remember that? It was absolutely disgusting. Overnight. But you see, I grew up listening to hip-hop music, and until that man announced that he was running for president of the United States, everybody loved Trump. Okay? Everybody loved Trump. And just like that, the media said, no. Forget everything we said. I know he was great. He had his own show. We loved him. Forget Beyonce and Jay-Z sipping poolside. They wanted to be at Mar-a-Lago. Remember in the songs? Everybody wanted to be at Mar-a-Lago. He was a symbol of wealth, of Americanism, that you had made it. Everybody loved Trump. And just like that, I was supposed to be convinced that he was a racist because he announced his bid for the White House. That was my aha moment. I still wasn't sure about him. But I said to myself, and I asked a very important question, and it's a question that I want you guys to ask yourselves. Is it possible that racism is now being used as a theme to turn black people into single-issue voters? The answer is yes. When people know what you are afraid of, they can control you, okay? When people know what you fear, they can control you. And the left has figured out that minorities fear racism. So they call everything racist. I mean, I actually saw an article, and I believe it was the Washington Post, and it said that air was racist. And I thought it was a joke. I was like, this has to be satire. And I clicked it. It wasn't. They said that we are breathing worse air than white people. It was amazing. I said, wow, we're here right now. Okay, air is racist. I didn't think, okay. And it is laughable, but there are people that are sharing those articles going, see, I told you. I told you, I had a feeling the air is racist. I've been completely killed by the press 1,000 times over for a lot of things. First and foremost, I am not a feminist, and I say that proudly, and I'll explain to you why. please do not believe that people that are calling themselves feminists today, these modern feminists, these Lena Dunham types that are out there boycotting Brett Kavanaugh are feminists. They are not. They are people, they are radicalized feminists, people that are operating under the guise of feminism to attack men, okay? A society cannot thrive without strong men, okay? They are trying to demote masculinity. You see this in our society. There's something wrong. If you have any type of a feeling that makes you feel like a man, there's something wrong with you. They're trying to pervert masculinity. They're trying to even pervert femininity. There's something wrong. If you're a woman and you want to raise your kids, oh my goodness, what is wrong with you? There is nothing wrong with raising your kids. In fact, I would argue that's the toughest job in the world, to raise good human beings. This is the left. This is the left. You have a feeling like you want to get married? What's wrong with you? I mean, I had a feminist tweet at me and said, why don't you go make your husband a sandwich? Okay. Does he want one? I mean, why on earth would I have an issue with making my husband a sandwich? Modern feminism is just, it's so crazy wackadoodle, I can't even begin. But this is the stuff that is required learning in school now. When I was at university, I was required to take Feminism 101, okay, as a part of my prerequisites for a journalism major. And let me tell you, I'm going to show you guys all how my class went. You guys ready? You guys are now all in Feminism 101. We had a massive textbook. In this textbook was every single problem that has faced women since the beginning of dawn, since the time of dinosaurs. They created this textbook, okay? And our teacher would sit at the front and she'd pluck out one of these things that happened in the textbook. She'd say, pick a struggle. Women are tired, more tired than men. Why? And then she turned to the class and all we had to do to get an A was say, because of men. That was it. I mean, it was really the easiest class you could possibly get an A in. And no other thinking. So she'd say, I lost my keys this morning. Why? A's. Everybody just, that was incredible. That was incredible how fast you guys learn. So I remember being in this class, and mind you, this is at a time when I was a liberal. I was on the left. I was fired up. Feminism sounds great. Feminism 101. Let's do it. But eventually I said, everything is just because of men. I feel like there's got to be a little bit more going on. And there's one particular class that I always tell people about, and I will never forget it because retrospectively it was a turning point for me. She plucked out one of her things from this textbook, this wonderful textbook, Every Problem Since the Beginning of Time, and it was a statistic, scary statistic. It said 89% of the people in this country that have an eating disorder are women. And she turned to the classroom and she said, why? Goodness, Einstein's in here. It's just incredible. And everyone in the class, because some of the people had picked the class and they're nodding, and she went on and she said, it's because men make us feel like we have to be skinny and they're controlling the advertising industry. And I put my hand up and I said, ooh, this one I'm just going to have to try to rebut a little bit. And she looked at me because we do this back and forth and she was like, Candace. What? What could you possibly have wrong with what I just said? I said, Professor, I just feel like there might be something else going on. I don't think everything can be because of men. And she looked at me, and I'll never forget the words she uttered to me. She said, Candace, I just feel like you were sent to me from the men's department. I'll never forget what I said back to her. I said, Professor, I just feel like I was sent to you from the common sense department. There might be something else going on that requires a little more critical thinking than men. And we kept trading back and forth and we kept going. And eventually I hit her with a bomb. I said, I actually have an eating disorder. Many of you that follow my story know, and a lot of this is in my book as well, that from the age of 18 to 22, I had anorexia. So here I was, sitting in her classroom, and rather than turning around and asking us, really, genuinely, ladies, why do you think we have this problem? She was telling me why I had this problem, and she was wrong. There was never an eating disorder because of men. There was something men never said to me. My eating disorder wasn't even about being skinny. It was a control mechanism. When I felt that things in my childhood were out of my control, I said, this is something I can control. I can control how much I eat. And I became obsessed with it because it gave me control and it gave me power. That was what it was about. It had nothing to do with men. The idea of men even calling other women fat is, I mean, that's exclusively a girl-on-girl crime. And here I am. You know I'm right. You know I'm right. Guys would be like, oh, she's thick. Girls would be like, she's fat. She's fat. In that moment, fellas were like, thank you, thank you. But, you know, in that moment, and I look back, and that moment was so critical. It was so critical because what I was watching was liberalism versus conservatism. You see, liberals, when they have a problem, they look externally. They say, who can I blame? Who can I blame? If I'm poor, I can blame rich people. If I have an issue and I'm black, I can blame white people. If I'm skinny, I can blame fat people, right? You know, this, what's it called? Body positivity movement, right? Right? Yeah, I'm blaming skinny people for the fact that I don't like my fat, right? This is what the left is all about. It's the opposite game. Give them enough time and it'll be the short versus the tall, right? But conservatism is something different, and it's something that I believe in. You see, when we have a problem, we look internally. We say, how can I fix it? How did I get here? What can I do to change my destiny? How can I correct this course? That is conservatism. I always say that moment and that challenge that was presented to me when Trump came down the escalator, which spiraled and led me here, was a God-given moment. And I will tell you what it is that he's taught me that I think has been the greatest blessing of my life. He taught me for the first time ever how to love the American flag, how to love this country, right? He taught me how to love the red, white, and blue, something that you don't learn in school. You learn in school how to hate America, that you should feel guilty about being American when everyone else is suffering. We should feel guilty about capitalism. We should give it all away. We're horrible people. Trump made me realize that there is so much beauty in patriotism because, do you know what? Patriotism does not know color. Patriotism does not care about your sex. Patriotism does not care about your gender. Patriotism cares about your ideas. America is united by a concept, about an idea. And that idea is that you can come from nothing. You can come from absolutely nothing in this country. But if you work hard and stay out of trouble, this country will reward you. That is the American dream. There is no person that has lived that dream greater or more to the truth than my idol, my everyday inspiration, my mentor, my best friend, my granddad. My grandfather is about 80 now, and he was born in the segregated South in Fayetteville, North Carolina, on a sharecropping farm. So his first job was laying out tobacco to dry. And he was 5 years old. 5 years old. That was his first job. He'd get up before the crack of dawn because otherwise it was too hot under the Carolina heat. And he'd have to pick cotton and lay out tobacco to dry. Never, ever, ever in my life did my grandfather ever tell me that I couldn't do something because of the color of my skin. I've never heard my grandfather make a negative comment. And I grew up in his house during my formative years about white people, ever. He just believed in hard work. He just believed in God. He just believed in family. He also believed in lectures. Every single morning we'd have to read the Bible around the table. And he'd ask us he'd read a scripture and we'd have to learn something from it. He'd make these big Southern breakfasts. He had weird rules too, like no elbows on the table. And if we broke the rules, he'd always incorporate us into a prayer, which was horrible because I was young and I thought he was telling God on me. So he'd say, dear God, please help Candace realize that she shouldn't be turning the heat on in the middle of the night. And then I start crying and I say, why are you telling God? And then I'd run from the table and run upstairs. And I look back on that now. It was stuff that used to embarrass me when I was a kid. So, I was a part of the secular world. I went to school. It wasn't cool to talk about God. It wasn't cool to say, oh, this morning we read scriptures. I just wanted to fit in. I was so embarrassed of that upbringing when I was young. And I look back now and I genuinely thank God. I thank God for my grandparents. I thank God for those breakfasts. Because they've now provided a pillar in my life. And I will end this by telling you where Granddad is now. Granddad, after moving up north, marrying my grandmother when he was 17 years old, he stayed married to her until his dying day, 53 years later in 2013. And when he retired, he moved back to Fayetteville, North Carolina, and he purchased that sharecropping farm that he grew up in. That is the American dream that I am giving back to our community. I am giving back to our community that we can work hard and we deserve a piece of that dream after all of that time. Thank you guys to every single person that came into this room and supported. To all the speakers, come on out. Come on out. You know we got love.
We got love, love, love.
I was waiting for that.
We got love, love, love. You better believe it.
I live in abundance. Love is the new money. I'm mentally wealthy, spiritually conscious. I'm fresh out of onyx. I'm ballin' and ballin'. I play with the hundreds. Love is the new money. That's my frequency. Spark up, burn the sage. Clear the room, kill the hate. Love is the new wave. Play catch with the hundreds. Love is the new money. I'm just chillin' with the homies. Homies where the heart is. Play catch with the hundreds. Love is the new money. I'm just chillin' with the homies. Homies where the heart is.
Love, love, love. You better believe it. We got love, love, love. You better believe it. We got love, love, love. You better believe it. We got love, love, love. You better believe it.
never giving up. No, I'm never giving up. Never gonna give it up. No, I'm never gonna stop. Well, I've never been the kind to walk away from a good fight. You know I got it all up in my DNA. You're damn right. You can try to slow me down, but I don't stop. You can throw another punch, but I won't drop. I'm never giving up, No, I'm never giving up, Come at me with what you got, Cause I'm never gonna stop, I'm never giving up, No, I'm never gonna stop, Come at me with what you got, Cause I'm never gonna drop. Well, you know that I'm the kind of girl to win, I'll betcha. All the dreams that I've been chasing in the wind, gonna get ya. Well, I know what is false and I know what is true. I know what I gotta do. I see what is good and I see what is just. Faith on my side and I know who to trust. Hey, baby, you're gonna see what I can do. I got my eye on the prize. I'm gonna take it to. I'll be my own hero. There ain't nothing that I can't do. I'm never giving up, No, I'm never giving up, Come at me with what you got, Cause I'm never gonna stop, I'm never giving up, No, I'm never gonna stop.
things get difficult, you gotta reach inside yourself. You're not alone.
Now maybe what you feeling is hard, or maybe what you feeling is dark, or maybe what you feeling is a feeling you ain't never felt